Right now, another member of Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle, his personal lawyer, Darren Indyke, is being questioned behind closed doors from members of the House Oversight Committee. Indyke was instrumental in creating Epstein's complex web of businesses, trusts, properties, and legal teams, and is still the co-executor of his estate. Today's deposition comes less than 24 hours after Democrats stormed out of the last-minute closed-door briefing with Attorney General Pam Bondi. They believe she only came in yesterday to get out of testifying under oath at a later date.
It was clear from the minute it started that the Attorney General is trying to evade and not attend the mandated subpoena that is put in place. We asked her that question. Multiple members asked her the question. She would not respond.
MS Now's Ali Vitale is on Capitol Hill for us. And Ali, I understand you have one of the lawmakers who was just inside that deposition with Epstein's lawyer.
That is exactly right, because the deposition is ongoing, but I was able to get Congresswoman Ansari to come out and talk with us a little bit about what you've heard over the course of the last few hours. It sounds like he's answering questions, but there's an interesting dynamic that you and I were just talking about when it comes to this trio of people, Les Wexner, Darren Indyke, and Richard Kahn, who really made up the inner circle for Epstein. And yet, when it comes to answering questions about it, they're downplaying their role.
Exactly. I think I can't get into the details of what he's saying, but, you know, this is somebody who served as Jeffrey Epstein's main attorney for years and years and years. The impression that he's giving off is very much that he's just a guy. He was, you know, just the family attorney, took care of some things. But, of course, we know that he received tens of millions of dollars over the course of the years that he worked for Mr. Epstein, that he is, you know, co-executor of the estate, so has access to all of the information. We've been asking questions related to, you know, his knowledge of allegations, when he became aware, and why he did not choose to cut off his relationship with Mr. Epstein. He claims that he did not know anything until the allegations came to light. And I think it's just a theme across these individuals, whether it's Les Wexner, who was a client who gave Epstein upward of $1 billion potentially, Richard Kahn, and then Darren Indyke. These were his inner circle, right? And so to even try to pretend like you did not have a solid understanding of what was going on and to not take accountability for your role in it, to me, is very problematic.
And even at the start of the hearing, in both a statement and an opening statement, he once again said that both he and Kahn, Indyke and Kahn, their lawyers, saying that they were not involved or aware of Epstein's crimes. I think the other piece of this equation that we're following today is what happened last night with Democrats storming out of the Bondi briefing. And importantly, I asked Chairman Comer today about the concern that some have that they're going to try to use this briefing as a pretense to say, well, that's basically the deposition that we subpoenaed her for. Interestingly, Comer told me this morning he agreed that the briefing is different than a deposition that you would do for a subpoena. So that feels important. But how do you ensure that this subpoena is ultimately enforced?
I think we have to hold their feet to the fire. When there were negotiations between the majority, so Representative Comer and the Clintons, they immediately went to wanting a vote to hold the Clintons in criminal contempt for negotiating. We heard very clearly from Attorney General Pam Bondi tonight that my impression is she intends to negotiate the terms of her deposition. She was asked over and over and over again. No, it's not abnormal. But, you know, she was asked over and over again if she intends to come. She couldn't give a simple yes answer to that question. And then when Chairman Comer was asked about whether or not he would ensure that this happens, he would not give a straight answer to that question. I think they have seen the response to that from last night, and so I'm glad that he said to you he will ensure that she comes forward, but that's not what he said last night.
I don't know that he ensured she would come forward, but I think notably saying the tune seemed to at least change, that they can't use the fact that she came in yesterday for a briefing as an excuse to say that she's already done a deposition, because that is, of course, different. Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari of Arizona, thank you so much for coming out. I know it's still ongoing, so we'll let you get back in there, but thank you for coming and giving us this update. We appreciate it. And Chris, I think, again, it goes to show that this is very much a live ball here in terms of this deposition, but then also the fact that there are multiple other depositions throughout the calendar from now all the way scheduled through May. And one of the key ones that we're still waiting for a date for, yes, when Pam Bondi comes in, if she ends up complying with the subpoena. But then also you got to keep in mind the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, also said that he volunteered to come before this committee. We don't know what day that is happening on, but certainly a lot of interest in that deposition and testimony as well.
I heard you ask that question to another member of Congress on Way Too Early this morning, so we'll wait to see what that date is indeed. Kelly Vitale, thank you.